Do you struggle to get editing work even though you've spent years learning your craft and your edits are technically flawless? And then it's even more frustrating when you see others hitting six figures with what seems like almost no effort. I struggled for years when I started, but once I learned what I'm about to share, I started hitting six figures easily, and I made $1 million from editing before I turned 30. So I'm going to show you the 5 steps that will help you break through those roadblocks so you can start creating emotionally impactful broadcast quality edits that open doors to the higher paying, more creatively fulfilling projects you deserve. Why should you listen to me? Well, I've edited Oscar-winning actor Matthew McConaughey, Super Bowl commercials, and a viral short film that became a hit Hollywood movie. And over 20 years as a broadcast editor, I've cut over $10 million worth of TV commercials. But what I'm most proud of is helping students build thriving careers doing what they love, editing creatively fulfilling projects. Like my student Guzman, who booked his first 5-figure freelance editing project after taking my program, or my student Rob, who landed a new creative editing client only 4 weeks into my program using my strategies, or one of my very first employees, Sam, who recently edited a feature-length documentary narrated by Matthew McConaughey and released in theaters. And I've done it with a simple but powerful 5-step editing system. Click the link in the description to learn more. Step 1. Do you ever feel like no matter how many videos you edit, they're just not standing out or leading to better projects? I can relate because that's exactly where I was for 4 years after I started editing. No matter how many hours I put in, I struggled to get past beginner level skills. The only tutorials I could find focused on the technical side of editing, and I didn't know how to bridge the gap between using the software and creating edits that grabbed attention and made an audience feel something. Without guidance, I was stuck experimenting on my own, unsure if anything I was doing would ever make my videos stand out. And I honestly started to think that I just didn't have the talent to make editing my career. I hit rock bottom when I couldn't land an editing gig, so I decided to do something about it, and it was really scary. I asked a successful pro editor for help, and that decision changed everything. My new mentor showed me how pro editors really worked. He taught me to focus on emotion and story, not software, and he let me see behind the scenes of his decision-making process on his actual real-world projects. After years of struggle, I finally had a clear process to follow. Within months, I edited a short film that got into multiple film festivals, and soon after that, I landed my first TV commercial, the start of my 20-plus year career. And that led me to booking higher and higher budget broadcast TV commercials until suddenly I found myself editing footage shot by a Hollywood cinematographer, and I was editing great actors and getting paid more than I ever had before. Here's what I know now. If you're putting in the work but still feel stuck in your editing career, it's not because you're not talented enough. It's because the craft of editing is far more than technical skills, and you just need guidance on how to consistently incorporate emotion and story into every edit, and the career strategies to turn that into high-end projects and clients. Like my student Doug, who learned to edit with emotion and story first while he was in my program, and he went from editing creatively draining projects to working on a feature documentary that's aiming for Netflix distribution. So step 1 is to start planning every edit around emotion and story instead of obsessing over the technical side of editing. Step 2. Do you ever feel frustrated because you're editing the same low-paying, creatively unfulfilling projects over and over? Let me tell you about my student Rob. He'd been editing corporate videos for years, and he wanted to make the transition to freelance. But he felt stuck. He knew he had the technical ability, but the opportunities he wanted just weren't coming in. After Rob went through my program, he realized what he'd been missing all along: applying his emotional storytelling skills to high-end projects that were designed to look and feel like the kind of work he wanted to be hired for. Not only did putting theory into practice cement his learning, but for the first time in his career, Rob had polished, high-end showreel pieces that he could confidently put in front of higher-end clients. So step 2 is to apply your emotional storytelling skills to high-end projects that will get you hired. Step 3, do you ever feel like no matter how many hours you put in or projects you take on, your editing work isn't getting the attention it deserves? Learning emotional storytelling and applying it to real-world projects is very important, but it's not the true shortcut to making your work stand out to high-end clients. Before joining my course, Kamarli had a solid technical foundation, but he was stuck because he didn't have a mentor giving him feedback on his work. But after getting detailed feedback from me on his work, he knew exactly what to do to hit the emotional targets he intended, and he created something he could use to attract more high-end work. Jason experienced the same thing during my program. After getting personal, detailed feedback on his edits, he was able to take his editing to a new broadcast-ready level, using a process he can now repeat for future client work. Step 3 is to get feedback from a pro who's working at a level you aspire to. It's the one true shortcut to breaking into high-end editing work. Step 4. When a potential editing client asks to see your work, do you ever feel completely lost on what to send them? Or worse, you send them something and never hear back? Creating and refining high-end showreel pieces isn't enough. You need to present your work in a way that high-end clients can't ignore. This means that you don't cram everything you've ever done onto one website or send the same generic showreel to every potential client. You create short, high-impact showreels designed for one person, and you back that up with a professional portfolio website. Once my student Guzman started following these strategies, he booked his first 5-figure freelance editing project after completing my program, because his work was now being presented in a way that amplified the quality instead of detracting from it. Step 4 is to create a high-converting showreel and portfolio. And if you want to go deeper on how to create a high-converting showreel, download my free Editing Showreel Mastery Guide at the link in the description. Step 5. I get the chance to speak to hundreds of editors, and 99.9% of them have the same problem with selling themselves. 1, they're introverted. We do like editing alone in the dark after all. And 2, the word sales is cringy to us creative types. Those 2 things held me back for years until I finally discovered that I could do just 20% of sales to get 80% of the results and hit my dream income without much effort. Remember my student Rob who left corporate video editing to go freelance? Well, he was also scared to do outreach, but after implementing my outreach strategies, he booked a new creative client only 4 weeks into my program. And it wasn't another corporate video, it was for a fashion brand he was really excited about. That didn't happen because he suddenly became more confident or because he got lucky. It happened because he had a clear, simple process for putting the right work in front of the right people. Step 5 is to use strategic outreach to turn your new showreel into paid work. These 5 steps break down every roadblock to advancing your editing career, and they're the exact 5 steps I personally guide students through inside my program. Click the link in the description to learn more. Now you know the 5 steps to becoming a 6-figure editor, but it won't help you if you don't know these 12 lessons I learned from booking high-end jobs. So watch this video next to book your first high-end project faster than I did. Happy editing.